76.
Hello and welcome along to episode 13 of the Tennis Asia podcast. And with no slam, no Olympics, it's back to normal. Masters in Canada, Challengers in the States. My name's Alastair, and joining me, of course, is Mr. Tennis Asia himself. Eddie, how are you?
Yeah, very good. 13 episodes. Can't believe we've got to 13 already.
The unlucky one coming up.
Or maybe lucky, right? But
or maybe lucky.
Yeah, it's been, an interesting week for Tennis Asia again. Coming after success for Queen Wen at the Olympics. We've had another interesting story this week.
And we might as well start there in Canada. Toronto and Montreal hosting I think the women's was in Toronto, the men's was in Montreal this time. I know they sort of alternate between years. I think it's fair to say that plenty had written him off, but Kei Nishikori came back last week, proved he might not just be done yet.
Yes. I mean, he's been through a lot in terms of the injuries, and I think it's just been one thing after another. So Kei Nishikori, of course, of Japan, previously as high as number 4 in the world. He's definitely in the men's side is regarded as the best player from Asia of all time, really. He was at his peak, like an exceptionally talented player. I mean, he still is an exceptionally talented player, but, when he was at his peak, he was right up there, competing with any of the, like these top players. So, I mean, but yeah, I think he's had a hip injury. I think he had to get not quite as bad as what Andy Murray had, but he had to have surgery.
So he doesn't have a metal one then?
No, I think though I read that he had to get like some bone shaved or something like this. So it was pretty serious stuff. And then, but yeah, he's had that. And then I think that when he was recovering from that, he was pretty much done, ready to return from that injury. But then he got a pretty bad ankle injury that ended up being much more serious, which kept him out for a few months. And then, he's had problems with his wrists and everything like this. So it's been one thing after another. And yeah, of course, when you're not playing regularly and you have these injuries, it's difficult to make that comeback. And then, of course, his ranking, as well as not being able to play, his ranking had slipped right down. Recently he's been using his protected ranking, which I think is about 48, 49 or something like that in the world. So it's not too bad. It's a useful one for entering the ATP tournaments. But obviously, you only get so many of them that you're able to use. So just basically, coming into this, this is his, a Masters tournament. Obviously, it's a huge tournament. And going into the tournament, he was ranked 576 in the world, which obviously, given his heights before, is ridiculously low. And started off great for him because he got a win. And that first win came against Alex Michelsen, the young American, very tall American. Big serving, of course, but he's on the rise. And not the easiest first round opponent, but Nishikori did win by coming back from a set down. It was 3-6, 7-5, 6-4. And that was actually Nishikori's first win in a Masters event for 3 years. Which tells its own story about how, of course, in the past, he'd always been in these events, and, he's even been in several finals. And although he hasn't won a Masters event, I think he's actually the player that's maybe the active player that's been in the most finals in Masters without actually winning
without
one.
winning. And he got to a slam final once, didn't he?
That's right, of course, yeah. I mean, he got in 2014. I mean, that was a massive thing.
10 years ago.
Yeah, 2014 he got to the US Open final when he actually beat uh, Djokovic. In fact, I think he beat Stan Wawrinka and then Djokovic in the semi-finals, but then he lost to Marin Cilic in
Hmm.
the final. I think Cilic actually took out uh, Federer. So one of those times when the big three or big four, whatever, they made it there, and it was actually those two guys who went through. But obviously that was massive back then, not only
Right.
for him, for Japanese tennis, for Asian tennis. That was a huge thing to have a man come through and do that. And of course, for the few years after that, he was right at the top. I mean, if not winning slams or getting to finals, he was in getting to quarterfinals or thereabouts, and then competing in these big events. But yeah, I mean, just now this is his first victory in 3 years that he gets, and you're thinking, well, that's nice for him to get that, but he's got to play in the second round, the round of 32. He had to play Stefanos Tsitsipas, the number 8 seed, and you're
So
thinking, well, maybe
good.
that's
Okay, job's done. That'll be
yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. But then no, he actually came out and played a brilliant match. He ended up winning 6-4, 6-4. I mean, I did see some of that match, and it was really just nice to be able to see him playing that well again. He was clearly had a plan to come out and try and rush Tsitsipas and hit him off the court, and obviously that's easier said than done. But Nishikori himself is an exceptional ball striker. I mean, the way he hits the ball so cleanly, his backhand was always, world class. And yeah, I mean, actually, he was getting a lot of winners as well on the forehand this time. But yeah, he just really exceptional ball striking. His returning was superb. And yeah, to be able to get through in straight sets against a player like Tsitsipas is, there's not many players that can do that. But Nishikori, even though he's been out for a long time, he shows that, he still has that talent. And I guess if you do have that natural talent of the ability to hit the ball like that, then you do maintain, your chances against big players, and he managed to get it here. And yeah, just such a great victory for him. It was easily the best victory he's had in any tournament in about 3 years. I think the last time he beat a player of that quality was way back in the Tokyo Olympics when he beat Rublev. But in
Right.
terms of, I mean, I think Rublev was top 10 even then. And yeah, I mean, of course, Tsitsipas I think he's just outside the top 10 now. I think he was 11th when Nishikori played him. But I mean, yeah, obviously it's still a high caliber player, and one that he should feel, very proud of getting at this stage. And then he went through to play a bit of an easier matchup on paper. He played Nuno Borges of Portugal, and also came through in straight sets 6-3, 6-4. So yeah, just wasn't too easy though, because he had to because of the rain delay. There was actually one day rained off in Montreal,
Right.
and he actually ended up having to play, I think, the two matches in the one day. So then he had to go
Right.
play the quarterfinal match against Matteo Arnaldi, the Italian that's very much on the rise. And I mean, there's no shortage of Italian players in the top areas of the rankings. And yeah, I mean, I watched that match, and Nishikori certainly, he did show glimpses of, that incredible hitting, and he was trying to come into the net a lot, and then sometimes it was effective, but it was, he's trying to come up with ideas to get past Arnaldi, but Arnaldi, he's in the peak of his career really at the moment, and he's very quick and sharp, and he moves very quickly. So it was very difficult for Nishikori to hit through him and break through against him. So unfortunately for Nishikori, he ended up losing that 6-4, 7-5. I mean, he had the chances maybe to get it to. It came pretty close to going to a tiebreak in the second set, but unfortunately he couldn't do it. But nonetheless, it's been, you'd have to say, I mean, given what's all gone before, this is a great week for Nishikori.
What does it bring
and
his ranking up to now? Because that would be a pretty giant leap, surely.
Yeah, as I mentioned before the tournament, he was ranked about 500. He was ranked 576 in the world. With this quarterfinal run, he jumps up a massive over 300 spots, up to 222 in the world. So yeah, I mean, obviously much better. I mean, even if he doesn't use that protected ranking or wild cards, then he can at least probably. I mean, with that kind of ranking, he definitely get into the challengers again. I mean, he did say that he wanted to get back. I mean, this was before he actually got to the quarterfinals. He did mention that he would like to get back to the top 100. That's his first aim. Obviously, with this run, that's actually got him much closer just with the one tournament. So for him, obviously, it's first getting to the top 100 probably is a realistic goal for him just now, and take it from there. But I don't think he's playing it. He's not playing in Cincinnati.
Right.
But
so
he
may
will
not play again until the US Open, I guess.
Yeah, he won't. I don't believe he's going to be playing in, because I know, the only other tournament just before that is in what's it called, Winston-Salem.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't think he's
250.
No, he's not. He's not going to be playing that. Yeah, so he'll be. Fair enough. He obviously he's had his injuries and issues. He's going to rest up, and then he should be playing the main draw of the US Open.
And he got I know he got a win. He got through one round at Roland Garros. I think he lost in the first round at Wimbledon, the five setter. I guess it's pick your tournaments with the protected ranking. And meanwhile, get a win, a couple of wins, and it could be top 100 very soon.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the situation though is with Nishikori, because I see that he's not actually he's not used his protected ranking to enter, so I don't actually see him on on the list. So I just made the assumption that he was going to play, but I mean, I don't know if he's going to get. Would they give him a wild card? I'm not entirely sure with that, because I mean, obviously former finalists, but there's plenty of other guys that are looking to get wild cards. But nonetheless, I mean, I don't know if he's actually got any how many protected rankings that he's got left to use.
Still got left, yeah.
Anyway, we'll be looking forward to seeing how he does.
We will yet see him at the Seoul Challenger in October. I think it is this year. I'm
possibly,
sure it'll be a while after that.
Certainly, I mean, obviously you get the ATP event in Tokyo. He'll be getting a wild card there, no doubt. Obviously, the Asian swing is definitely somewhere that he can do well. So that's definitely going to be a key period for him, and then hopefully finish the year strong and try and start off next year Australian Open. Make a good start, and then let's see. I mean, obviously it's early days in his comeback. Definitely more positive for him to be able to finish 4 matches like this, and hopefully without any issues. But I mean, that's the main thing, and
okay. Well, Kei was getting his first Masters, or his first 1,000 win for 3 years. Another of the podcast favourite was getting her very, very first 1,000 win across Canada in Toronto. Moyuka Uchijima, she picked up a first round win.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Uchijima, of course, we covered her earlier. She had a great run. That unbeaten run. I mean, it was like 3 weeks unbeaten. That was on clay and hard, but at the ITF level. So with the way her ranking is shot up, she's now able to get into some of the big WTA events, and she managed to actually come through qualifying to qualify for this Canadian Open in Toronto. Right, the women's side is in Toronto,
right?
And and not only did she qualify, I mean, she came through. She came through qualifying against. she beat the local favourite, Eugenie Bouchard, who
Bouchard,
was
right.
given a wild card into the qualies. Yeah, but she came from a set down to beat her, and then she had to come back from a set down as well in the second qualifying round against Kayla Day. So toughing it out and getting through. But then it was much simpler for her in the first round in the main draw because she beat Tomova of Bulgaria 7-6, 6-2. Ultimately, though, losing in the round of 32 to, I mean, it's a tough draw. In fairness to Ludmila Samsonova, 6-4, 6-2. Yeah, I mean, we talked about, it's quite a big step up, isn't it, really, from that
Right.
ITF level up to the main WTA, maybe more so even than, like, say, in the men's side. I feel like, the women at the top and in the top 10, top 20, in terms of like the level of pace that they're able to generate on the ball compared to some of in the lower reaches, you definitely notice there's a big difference. But yeah, I mean, as I said with Uchijima though, she does have, she's not the smallest player herself. She does have some sort of strength in her own shots herself. So it's probably just a case of her getting the experience and but being able to still get 3 wins under her belt here is good. Unfortunately for her, she crashed out in the qualifiers in Cincinnati, but we can maybe talk about a bit about that later. But but another Japanese player who was in the draw, and we mentioned in the last podcast, was Naomi Osaka.
Right.
And she actually,
she had Ons Jabeur in the first round, and it was an out of sorts Ons, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Ons has not been in the best of shape in the last several months, let's say, and I mean, Osaka looked to be hitting the ball, beautifully, timing the ball well, and just Jabeur just wasn't quite at the level, and that really was reflected in the scoreline. It was so it was a simple straight sets victory for Osaka. I mean, she came through, I think it was 6-3, 6-1, was it?
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, that tells its own story, but I mean, it's obviously a good result for Osaka to be able to do that, but unfortunately for her, Osaka, her run came to an end in the next round when she lost in straight sets to Elise Mertens, and a player that perhaps she'd really be backing herself to beat normally, but 6-3, 6-4 that one ended, and it's really, it's been a case, I would say, in Osaka's comeback where she shows, since coming back after spending time out since she had her pregnancy and she took time out, she showed glimpses of how good she can be, but then she just hasn't really had the consistency. And this has been the problem for her. But obviously, it's disappointing, I think, especially because the hard courts are where she has had most of her success, and she'd be wanting to get a good start here. So it hasn't been the best of starts for her. And then obviously we've got the US Open coming up in not too long. So it's a bit concerning, I suppose, because really, she'll have high standards and many people will have high expectations of for her. But I think obviously the US Open's a big one. So that's the main thing, that she'll be there and competing.
She had obviously moved on to Cincinnati. I think she lost her bags along the way, flying down to Cincinnati. Obviously, she had to go through the qualifiers there, and it was a pretty dismal qualifiers for the Japanese pair of Osaka and Uchijima. And we do have a new enemy of the podcast in the shape of Ashlyn Kruger, who has probably earned herself a bye into the second round of the WTA Seoul in as a recognition of her services for eliminating Japanese women from the qualifying of the Masters 100. But Kruger accounted for both Uchijima and Osaka.
Yeah, so we already mentioned that Ashley Kruger, she took out Uchijima in very short time. Yeah, so 6-2, 6. Love that one. And then she faced Naomi Osaka in the second qualifying round. Bit more difficult, of course. So Osaka did actually win a set. Kruger won the first set 6-3. Osaka the second 6-2. But Kruger finished off and took the final set 6-3. So Kruger went through to the main draw, and she got drawn against Donna Vekic, who was the finalist, silver medalist at the Olympics. So she goes through to that main draw. But taking out both the Japanese hopes there. Sad day for Japan on that Cincinnati side.
And limits our material for next week's podcast as well.
Was a bit of success though for Japan though on the men's side, because Nishioka came through and qualified. So he actually, unfortunately for the Japanese players though, is that Nishioka actually got drawn against Taro Daniel in the first round of qualifying. So he took out his own compatriot 6-3, 6-1. But
friendly fire.
But then came through in straight sets against Arthur Cazot, who'd been pretty good recently, 6-4, 6-4, and got a reasonable draw in the first round against Miomir Kecmanovic. There's a little opportunity for him to see how he can do. So Nishioka, I mean, he recently won that Atlanta Open kind of out of nowhere, and in the terms of like he wasn't having a good year, but I mean he's had a couple of losses since then at first up, but obviously getting a couple of wins under his belt here in Cincy, maybe a little opportunity for him to get another couple of Masters wins, maybe, or one or two. So Nishioka, of course, he's a guy that has always played well on the hard court. So we'll be watching out for him. Do we want to talk a bit more about Cincy while we're on it?
While we're on it, we might as well stick with it. Also, in the men's, I guess Zhang Zhichen will be there. He has got in the first round the French guy, Mepeshi Herika.
Yeah, so difficult draw for Triple Z. Zhang Zhichen, of course, the Chinese men's number one, and he's been the highest rank men's player in the Open era for China. So I mean he's actually drawn against Mepeshi Herika, who he's definitely on the up. He was recently got to the fourth round at Wimbledon. I mean, he's 6'8" tall, or just over 2 meters in height. So, and he's already had a title, an ATP 250 that he won this year on clay. But he's definitely seems like he's got the ability to play on numerous surfaces, well, on all of the surfaces. And he's a difficult first round opponent, absolutely, considering the unseeded opponents that Zhang could have faced. And then if he does get through that one, he's got to play Andrei Rublev. Although Rublev has just lost the final. I mean, obviously that's good for him to get to the final, but he lost to Alexei Popyrin, a surprise winner in Montreal.
First
maybe
Australian Masters winner since...
It must be Hewitt, surely.
It was Hewitt in 2003, yes.
Yeah. I mean, amazing, really. I mean, I don't think very few people would have predicted Popyrin and go all the way and do that, but there you go, and that's him. He's up near the top 20 now, which is really good timing for him going into the US Open. So, I mean, for Zhang, to go through, if he does get through that, I mean, he'll be doing really well to come through that one. perhaps maybe he has a chance against Rublev only for the fact that maybe Rublev's a little bit tired when he just had to play that final unusually on a Monday. So we wouldn't have too much time to rest and adjust to Cincinnati. Obviously, different conditions and everything. So that maybe gives Zhang a little bit of an advantage if he can get through. But I mean, yeah, as I mentioned, Nishioka as well qualified, and he will play Miomir Kecmanovic. If he does get through, then he has to play Hurkacz, right? So yeah, Hubert Hurkacz. So yeah, I mean that's not the easiest of first seeded opponents to face, but yeah, I mean whoever you face, it's going to be difficult.
It's a Masters. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be difficult. On the women's side, Queen Wen, the gold medalist, she will make her return to action. I don't think we know who she will be playing yet, but obviously coming in on a high and looking to build on that Olympic momentum.
Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting. Can she kick on and do well here? I mean, that would really signal to me that was the gold medal just a one-off, or is this going to be start of something bigger? Because getting that victory against it's hard to quantify how much that would probably give her confidence. To get a big victory. Right. Obviously the gold medal, but then also beating the number one Iga Świątek. And just the confidence maybe that she'll carry now going into this tournament. I mean, she's actually drawn because she's seventh seed. She gets a bye right to the second round, and she'll be playing either Marii Buszkova or Magdalena Fresh of Poland. She came through qualies, so not too bad. And then the seed that she faces is actually, I mean, I guess there was one seeded player withdrew because she faces potentially in the third round the 17th seed. Normally there'd be 16th seeds, but then I didn't remember who someone withdrew. But yeah, but Haddad Maya in the third round. It's yeah. I mean, as we said, like every match here can be tough, but it's something that she would be hoping to get the victory if she did play her. So the key would be you get through that, and then you end up playing probably in the quarterfinals is Coco Gauff. So obviously that would be the big one. Yulia Putintseva could be playing Coco Gauff because she's drawn in the first round. Putintseva, of course, of Kazakhstan. She's drawn against Harriet Dart, who qualified.
Right.
Yeah, and looking elsewhere in the draw, I mean, we've got Zhang Shui still using her protected ranking. But she's drawn against Diana Schneider. So she got luck in the sense of avoiding a seeded player, but I'm not entirely sure that's going to be a victory that she'll be able to get to end her incredible losing streak in singles. Yuan Yue, the Chinese player, is drawn against Leila Fernandez. Difficult first round draw for sure, and especially when you consider that in the next round it is Elena Rybakina who awaits them. So Rybakina of Kazakhstan, of course, and yeah, this is a bit of a, well, she's been out as well because she missed the Olympics due to illness. I mean, she's repeatedly had problems with illness and various issues. So let's see if maybe she can pick up a few results, something to feel positive about again, because it's really not ideal to have this kind of run of tournaments without playing and going into. Yeah, she started off the year well, but yeah, it's gone a little bit downhill since then. So and then the seed that's in her section is Jessica Pegula, who's actually just won the title in Toronto. So yeah, not easy. And then you've also got other players in the draw. You got Wang Yafan and then Wang Jinyu's difficult draw. She's drawn against Samsonova. So yeah, we'll be looking out for seeing how those players do. And meanwhile, while all that's happening, we have, of course, we cannot forget the Challenger and ITFs around the world that are happening. So
That's our bread and butter, isn't it? If that draw was, certainly the Cincy draw is challenging, but let's talk challengers, as that's the one. They're in Lincoln, Nebraska last week, and pretty decent runs for both Bu Yunchaokete and podcast favorite Coleman Wong.
yeah, so in terms of success for Asian players, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty successful tournament. Yeah, should we start maybe with Coleman, because obviously Coleman, we've talked about him a lot in the podcast. He's obviously someone. I mean, I interviewed him as well, which was why we're talking about him back in Busan. And he has high expectations for himself. I mean, talked about wanting to reach the top 100 and reach the next gen finals this year. He's still got a lot of work to do, and he'd been on a bit of a, let's say, a slump during. I mean, clearly, like during the clay season and the grass, he didn't really adapt.
Not his forte.
He was already struggling a bit after having a great start to the year, and then finishing last year pretty strongly. So yeah, he came into Lincoln having just reached the semi-finals in the Challenger in the week before. So this was nice bit of form that he's hit again. And then, yeah, here in Lincoln, he got through the first round pretty easily against Ethan Quinn, who was there as an alternate. So he came through in straight sets, 6-1, 6-3. And then it got tougher in the second round. He played the qualifier, Jack Pennington-Jones of Great Britain. But, Pennington-Jones is another...
I thought that Jacob Fernley was the most LTA name ever, but I'm sorry, Pennington-Jones is the most Lawn Tennis Association name ever.
Yeah, so Pennington-Jones, though, is actually at the same university that Fernley was at. Jake Fernley, he's now...
Which in turn was the same one Cam Norrie was at, was it?
That's right, the Texas Christian University. So, yeah, they've clearly got a good setup there to be producing players like this. But, Pennington-Jones, a lot of talent. And him and Fernley, were playing, number 1 and 2 at that university. And they ended up winning the national championships just in May there. So that was amazing for them. But yeah, Pennington-Jones, he actually took the first set 6-1 against Wong, but it was a great fight back from Wong to take the next two sets 6-2, 6-4. I heard something about Pennington-Jones. They said that, the energy that Coleman brought to the court took him by surprise, because it was very much, he said, I mean, obviously he's used to being on the US college circuit. He said it was very much a college tennis sort of energy that Coleman brings, and I can totally understand that, because I mean, Coleman, he's a lot of come-ons and a lot of yes, and he really screams when he wins points and stuff on the court. And then also I noticed that Coleman increasingly is starting to say "sí" as in like Spanish for yes.
Right.
But that's from his time in Spain. He trained for several years
at Academy,
Rafa Nadal Academy. So I've noticed all this, and maybe just exciting for him anyway to get these results. So he got into the quarterfinals, and then came through pretty straightforward fashion against Lee 2, 7-5, 6-1. I think that was a player he lost to the previous week in the semis. So good for him to do that. And then he faced a tough semi-final match against Nishesh Basavaredi, who is, by the way, a young up-and-coming player from America. I think he's only 18 years of age, a lot of talent, and a guy, or maybe 19, sorry, he's 19 now, but, a guy with a lot of expectation. He's already been twice a Challenger finalist, which is obviously very good for a player of that age. And he's had success at I think he won a doubles title in juniors, so at the US Open. So yeah, a lot of expectation on this young player. He's actually playing US colleges himself as well at Stanford. And Batsvaredi took the first set 7-6, but Wong really dug deep and took the second set in a tiebreak 7-6 with 7-3 in the tiebreak.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then actually just really stepped up in that final set and actually got the bagel. So yeah,
Right.
he's had some difficult matches to come through, but yeah, I think for Wong, when he does it, when he is confident and he's, when he's playing well, he is a really exciting player to watch. I mean, he does have weapons in terms of he's got a big first serve. The second serve is a little bit weak, but a bit of a target, for the other players. But yeah, but it's good first serve, and then yeah, he's got solid backhand, and then the forehand is maybe not quite as consistent as you would like, but he definitely can absolutely smack that. And yeah, he's a good athlete as well. He's pretty quick as well around the court, Coleman.
Right.
And some of his counter punching as well is tremendous when he's in form. With that energy he brings to the court as well, I can see how it can be maybe a bit of an intimidating force when he's in full force. He's maybe just though lacking the consistency, but obviously that comes with time. And yeah, I mean, going into the final, he had to play Jacob Fernley, who is really, since graduating from university, he's just hit the ground running. I mean, it really is kind of crazy how quickly he's risen up the
Right.
rankings. And then, yeah, so for Coleman, he ended up losing that final 6-4, 6-2, and I did see some of that as well. And I think it got to 5-3, and Jacob was serving for that first set, and Coleman broke back in that instance. Actually, I think it was a good passing shot to get the break back, and Coleman was really fired up. But unfortunately, Jacob eventually broke to take the first set 6-4, and then in the second set took that 6-2. I mean, yeah, Fernley was just. I mean, he just has a bit more, I would say, than Coleman at this stage in terms of he has weapons as well, like Coleman, but he also has that a bit more of like less up and down in terms of his level, but also, he moves around really well, Fernley. And there's only so much I felt like Wong didn't do too much wrong. It's just like he's playing a guy.
I think in that game, I mean, we mentioned obviously his serve is he's got a good first serve. He got a great first serve percentage. He got 72% in, but he only won like 50% of the points on the first serve. So there's obviously something wrong with his first serve in the match against Fernley.
Well, I mean, yeah. I think problem is, Fernley himself is quite a good returner. So, and even if he doesn't always, he's not necessarily always hitting winners. He can hit winners, Fernley, but also getting the chip returns in. So he was getting a lot of balls in. It's just difficult for Wong. But yeah, I mean, Wong in this tournament did show some excellent moments. In terms of just his ability to fight and some excellent points that he won in terms of, just his movement around the court, his counter punching, and, he has the weapons as well himself. So, yeah, hopefully for him that he's able to build on this. I mean, he's up near the top 150. He's up to a career high ranking. Obviously great. I mean, clearly he's the best, already the best player Hong Kong's had, and he's going to, going into the next week, he's playing in the Cary Challenger. And unfortunately for him, I think he's drawn in the first round against Gabriel Diallo, who is the Canadian player. It was a difficult first round for him. I think, Diallo qualified, and Wong got in as a special exempt, which is where he would have had to play. He was supposed to play qualies, but because he got to the final in Lincoln, they let him go straight into the main draw. So they sometimes give players the chance to do that. So, but yeah, difficult first round for Wong. If he does get through, then he has to play Luca Van Asch in the second round. This 7th seed. So it's quite a high level of challenger here, because you've got players like on the other side of the draw, you've got like Billy Harris who's been on the up, and then David Goffin, Roman Safiullin, and then Karatsev, Basavaredi. We talked about him, so difficult players in there. Unfortunately, actually, I should actually mention as well, in Lincoln, Bu Yunchaokete got all the way to the semi-finals.
Another one firmly accounted for, yeah.
Yeah, and Bu's been in a long run of form. I mean, he came through the first round, I should say, 6-4, 6-2 in straight sets against Shintaro Mochizuki, and then against Babit Zhugayev of Kazakhstan 6-3, 6-2, and apparently, I think I've been saying his name wrong. His opponent in the quarterfinal, Tristan, apparently his surname's pronounced Skulkata.
Skulkata, not Skulkate.
I think so. I mean, a Skulkate has been how I've heard it, but I think it might be because Skulkata is actually, I think it's a Dutch name, so which would explain the difference pronunciation. It's not. Yeah, so Tristan Skulkata, he came through again in straight sets. And then Bu actually started amazingly. I mean, Bu...
What a weird match that was, the semi.
Yeah, so Bu, I mean, he got the bagel. I mean, it really wasn't the start you'd expect against a guy like Fearnley who's been doing so well, but he did. I mean, I think he was just the stronger player, in that first round. He was hitting well. I mean, I think I've talked before about he's got such a... he's a great athlete, and so is Fearnley. But Bu's got that kind of strength that, even if you're playing against, even if the other player, his opponent, is hitting big shots, he's able to get around the court, and if he's got the strength that he's actually able to get it back with interest, make it very difficult for players to get past him, and that's really what was happening for, in the first set, and he came through with a bagel, and then he got bageled himself though in the second set. So Fearnley stepping it up. I mean, difficult. I mean, Fearnley, I think he's really impressed me, like just with his sort of mental strength and ability to bounce back. But the final set was a bit of a nightmare, I suppose you could say, because Bu, he was down. I believe he was down a break twice. Sorry, I should say he was up a break twice in that final set, and he was actually serving for the match at 6-5 and got broken. And then, of course, Fearnley wins the tiebreak. So it was a tight match, and I think in the stats he actually won 2 more points overall in that match. So it was a close match. 76 to 74, Yeah, you don't win points. That's not how tennis works, right? I mean, you've got to win the right points. Yeah, exactly, right. Exactly. But nonetheless, so he's still continually a good, consistent level in these challengers, and he's getting closer and closer to the top 100. And actually, there's quite a few players for Tennis Asia on top 100 watch, potentially. I mean, in terms of the players that are getting close there, I mean, Bu himself right now in the live ranking is at 125 in the world. Top 100, you got to say, is within very close distance. And then you've got Jason Zhang, who's at 122. Mikhail Kukushkin's at 121. So guys knocking at the door. And then, Coleman and Hong Sang-chan are about 150 or so in the world. But if you look at the race, if you look at the actual race, which only counts the points for this year, right? Yeah, you've got Jason Singh up around 109. Hong's at 128. Abu's at about 123. So, if they can get a few results together, obviously big moments for them as well coming up. I mean, I would say especially for Bu and Hong, can they qualify? And also for Coleman, can they qualify for the US Open? They've got that coming up. So, if they can do that, that gives them a big opportunity, and then maybe they can get a good lucky in the first round, and that will help give them a boost. But of course, the Asian swing coming up, this challengers, and then potentially, the actual ATP main tour events, because
Right.
guys like Bu will definitely be getting wild cards, and then of course Hong himself will have that sole challenger. But obviously, plenty of tournaments to come before then. But definitely, it's something in their sights and something we'll be keeping on. Certainly, it's going to be a massive moment for Bu. I mean, I think it's inevitable at some point he's going to make the top 100. It's probably going to be soon, and then obviously, then you're looking at staying in slams consistently and potentially making your waves on the main tour. But Hong, for him, it would be just good for him to get to the top 100 as a milestone in his career. But obviously, because he's going to go to the army at the end of the year, he'll have that. If you can get like about 100 protected ranking, that would be superb for him to come back. But yeah, we've got that, and then looking ahead.
So as you said, they all the challengers decamps to Cary, has already decamped to Cary, North Carolina. There's a women's event going on there as well. Mm-hmm. Last week the women were in Landisville. There was a standout performer from this region as well.
Yeah, so Sijia Wei Sijia, as it should be pronounced according to Chinese convention, right? So Wei Sijia of China, she got to the semi-finals in Landisville and continues, good run of form, because she recently won the title, 75K title in Lexington. That was the Lexington Challenger, where she beat the other Tennis Asia interest, the Thai player, Sawan Kao, in the final. Mm. So yeah, that was the biggest title for Wei Sijia to get that 75 title, and then she moves into the Cary Challenger draw with the special exempt, so she didn't have to play qualies, and she gets drawn in the first round against Tamara Zidanshek, so she avoids playing a seeded player. Ayala in that tournament as well, she got to the quarterfinals, which is okay, I suppose, but should be probably hoping to do better this week in Cary, but already it's got to a good start for Alex Ayala of the Philippines, because she beat the number 8 seed Julia Riera in the first round 6-3, 6-1, so pretty convincing. And then it gets perhaps a little bit easier on paper, because she plays a qualifier in the next round. So it's there's 2 qualifiers that she could face. So yeah, good start for her. She will have to play possibly the second seed, Zarazua, in the quarters. So yeah, we'll see how she does there. But obviously big chances now for Wei and Ayala. I mean, Wei's also in that section, so we could actually get an all Tennis Asia matchup in the quarterfinals between Ayala and Wei. And then see, Heather Watson's in there. She qualified. She's playing Kei Birrell. But the winner of that will play either Stefanini or Maya Hontama. Maya Hontama of Japan, she's the number 3 seed. Now Hubino is in there, but she's already lost in the first round. But another player that we've talked about a lot on the Tennis Asia podcast is Ena Shibahara, who has had a lot of success as a doubles player, but is concentrating more on her singles career this year. But she came through the qualies and actually qualified here for Cary, and she will play in the first round a wild card at Penikova. So not a bad first round for her. So maybe she can get a few results here. She's definitely got some talent that she can do well, I think, in these events, even in the singles. So she came through those qualies pretty simply and in straight sets. So we'll be looking out for her and see how she does. I noticed there, we've got Lily Miyazaki in the draw. She's actually representing Great Britain. I just watched an interesting video actually with Lily Miyazaki. There's a YouTube channel called All Things Tennis, where she took on the comedian Josh Berry that does all the tennis impressions. He's a pretty nifty tennis player himself. So there's a channel there where he takes on various actual tennis players, and he plays her in one. So it's actually it was quite entertaining actually. But he doesn't win in the end. but it was pretty close actually. But So anyway, but yeah, we've got that to look forward to. Quite a lot of tennis Asia players.
A lot of tennis, and ridiculously and coincidentally, I've just had an alert, a Google alert, for the first time in a month that tells me that in a few hours' time, Jiang Suzhang is taking to the tennis court.
Oh my goodness!
At Barranquilla in Colombia, she's playing Solana Sierra of Argentina in the round of 32.
Wow,
that was unexpected.
Solana Sierra. Okay. I'm not need to check what.
This is the WTA 125K Barranquilla, Colombia.
Wow. Okay. How did she get in there?
As we said, tennis never stops. Goodness knows.
Yeah.
She didn't come through qualifying. She must have got. There's no qualifying results for her. But...
Yeah. So that's interesting. Okay. So. Yeah, well, I guess we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. I mean, I think that pretty much...
Yet another tournament to keep an eye on.
That pretty much wraps up everything, doesn't it? So, for this week, and then...
It does, yeah, indeed. Enjoy... what are you going to be focusing on Cincinnati, or are you focusing on Cary? Well, now, obviously, that's all out the window. It's Barranquilla all the way now. But...
Oh, yeah, I mean, obviously, we'll be looking to see... I think in Cincy will be definitely... I think it'll be very interesting to see how... Zheng Qinwen is doing. I think that's my main interest there in that tournament. And then obviously the Cary. I'm interested in Cary in the men's and women's side, and then like you said, I'll be keeping an eye on that WTA 125 as well. So so many players from Asia in these events. So and it's important for them because a lot of these players will be trying to get into the US Open. They are in the US Open qualies, and they'll want to head into that in good form. And some of them will be making it potentially for the first time ever to qualify at the US Open. So a lot to look forward to. And actually, I should mention, I'm going to be going to New York. I will be going to the US Open.
Oh, you are? It's confirmed. Good.
Yeah, I'm leaving next week, so
in time for the quali. So
we'll be having to do a podcast. I think before I leave, maybe. But because I will. The qualies actually will start on Monday, I think. So maybe we can try and sneak a little preview in before that. Yeah, I'll be arriving in America on the Tuesday, I think. So. Is that right? No, sorry, Wednesday. I think it's the Wednesday, yeah. So I might even actually be able to catch some of that, but we'll talk about that maybe next time on the pod. So
definitely. Okay, in the meantime, thank you very much. Enjoy your tennis this week.
Okay, thanks. Cheers.
1-6, 7-6.